Good.
Well, hope everyone had a good and hearty lunch. And let's start off with this spotlight session 2. We are going to talk about the exploration opportunities and challenges in this session 2. And to commence the session, may I call upon the chairman for the session, Shri Rajesh Kumar Srivastava, Director Exploration ONGC. With over 35 years of experience, he is an expert in upstream hydrocarbon exploration. May I also call upon the esteemed panelist, Dr. C. Laxma Reddy, ADG Exploration DGH. He's an upstream oil and gas professional with more than 3 decades of diverse experience covering the entire gamut of the E&P industry. We welcome you, sir. May I also call upon Shri CSV Sandilya. He joined ONGC in the year 1985 as a geologist at Northern Region, Dehradun. We welcome you, sir. May I also call upon Shri Indrajit Barua. He is the Executive Director in the Oil India Limited. He now heads the company's frontier exploration activities in the northeastern states of Assam, Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh, and Tripura. We welcome you, sir. May I also call upon Shri Neeraj Sinha, exploration geoscientist, play analyst, and prospect finder. May I also call upon Shri Biswanath Ghosh, head OALP in the Cairn Oil and Gas Vedanta Limited. He also leads the new business unit in the organization to unlock value through exploration. May I also call upon Shri M.K. Sharma, a postgraduate in applied geology and a PhD from Dibrugarh University, Assam, currently working as the Executive Director, Oil India. We welcome you to today's session. The session co-chair today is Shri S.K. Shaktawat, a professional geologist having 36 years of experience in upstream oil and gas sector. He has also served in the Directorate General of Hydrocarbons, MoPNG, and he has gained experience in contract management and various regulatory aspects of ENP. We welcome you for the session today, and now may I request Shri S.K. Shaktawat to take upon the session, please.
Yeah, first of all, sorry for the delay. Very good afternoon to all. We welcome session chairman and our delegates. And I think we will, without wasting much time, we will start the session. I will invite Dr. C. Laxma Reddy for his first lecture, please.
Good evening. Are we still in the backstage or on the main stage?
Main stage, yeah.
Main stage, okay. Good evening, all, and my fellow co-panelists and session chair and co-chair. Good evening to all. We are joining this conference in unprecedented times from the safe confines of our offices or our place, instead of physically present in a magnanimous and majestic halls of Ashoka Hotel or somewhere else. We are all assembling online to deliver this and share our ideas. And we are also from the different parts of the country and different parts of the world. For that matter, I know recently the world has been turned upside down with COVID-19, which is akin to some of the worst black swan events in the modern world's history. It has pushed the governments, businesses, people to their boundaries. Its impact can be felt across the geographies and sectors. The impact is further exacerbated by the increasing global debt levels because of the loss of production and loss of activity at several parts of the world. And the same thing is felt in the oil and gas industry also. In particular, it felt to a much larger extent owing to the constraints imposed by the aviation, logistics, transport. Thanks again, we are just nearing normal and we are coming to the near normal. And let's look at basically the petroleum exploration potential in India, in Indian sedimentary basins, and look where we can invest our money, because India is a place where you can produce and consume also. Maybe if you invest in a bigger project elsewhere in the Middle East or somewhere else, after producing, you may not find the market. But India is a sure shot one, and maybe with regulations and all those things, even if you invest in India, if you produce the oil and gas, you will immediately find the demand here. I am sure you are sure to get the returns on your investment. And quest for petroleum in India spans over more than 166 years since the first lease given in Assam by British government during 1854. A new chapter and challenging journey of Indian upstream petroleum industry began with the discovery of oil from the historic first well Big Boy #1 in 1889, barely 30 years after the first Drake oil well, which was drilled by Drake in northeast Pennsylvania. Without wasting much time, let me come to the main topic of my speech here. As usual, I thank the organizers of this conference, which I am also one. But I am seeing one thing, where the exploration comes, as usual, as we get a small piece of the cake. Here also, in the session also, we are getting a small piece of cake, even though exploration ahead. Because I am seeing in other panels where the 4 people are there, here very less time is given to the real exploration people, as usual, that's the thing. So let me, in brief tell about, and my esteemed panelists are much more knowledgeable than me, and my seniors and my contemporaries. Let me go through, in a snapshot way, what is the potential which lies in Indian sedimentary basins. Can I get a presentation? Can somebody share?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. I just, deal, what are the exploration opportunities, which, where the challenges lie, and what extent Indian sedimentary basins have been uprised. What are the policy reforms which has taken place to improve on the, more and more appraisal of the Indian sedimentary basin, and what is the way forward, in a small snapshot way, I will discuss. Next. See, after a long gap of period, we have assessed the resource potential in India, utilizing the data which was available until 2015. This resource reassessment was taken place in 2017, through which, 42 billion tons of oil equivalent in place was established. But of course, these 42 billion tons of oil equivalent, after you discount the geological risking, that turned to be a 25 billion tons of oil equivalent. Why I am giving this flow is, my fellow explorationists and the investors who are attending this conference, I would like to show where the potential lies. You have the opportunity of converting this huge resource potential into the discovered resources. You can do a value addition to your exploration blocks, and then you can offload to certain extent. And if you establish basically the low risk of the investment in Indian sedimentary basins, probably the people, who are waiting on the sidelines with huge amount of money, as you see, in US, the $2 trillion has been pumped in. So where that money is going, everywhere with the COVID restrictions, the manufacturing industry, a lot of money is not going. You need to invest somewhere. So the cheap money is available elsewhere, can be brought in to Indian subcontinent, both into the manufacturing sector as well as the producing sector, convert these resources into the resource and then produce, and then grab the market, where the demand lies. Elsewhere the demand might go. Here demand will exist. We can only eat into the coal demand, but oil going to be remain to be there. Oil is there in every activity of our day-to-day life. These discovered 12 billion tons of oil, when we maximize the recovery, so that more and more oil can be added to the recoverable resource. This is, as of now, we have only 4.2 billion tons of oil equivalent. From 41, 4.2, you see, near about only 10% only we have made a recoverable resource. This has, here lies the potential. You can bring in more and more in place oil and gas to the recoverable one by maximizing the recovery, by intensifying the exploration. Large tracts of the land, large tracts of the sedimentary basin, we are not yet touched. Even if you have touched, probably we have just touch and go. No, that is not the thing. Intensify exploration, we need to recycle, we need to relook several times into these sedimentary basins. You need to find, suppose you lose 1 rupee on the road, several times you go and search, when 1 rupee is more valuable to you. Similarly, here also wealth lies down below the ground surface. You need to look and bring it into the surface. And with 1.28 billion tons of oil equivalent reserves which have been established even after producing the 2.4 billion tons of oil equivalent, there lies the potential. You can maximize the production, utilize the technologies, produce more. Exploration has given a 1.2 billion tons of oil equivalent. This also, at the present rate of production, it comes to near about 20-25 years. So why not reduce that time? Make it 15 years. In 15 years, you bring all that resource to the surface. Here is the challenge for the production engineers. Here is the challenge for the reservoir engineers to bring it to surface. That's the reason, right people have to be at the right place to bring these resources to the surface. Next, please. So as you all know, Indian sedimentary basins have been categorized based on the commercial production. What is the economy factor is played into a role. What is category 1 basin, where the commercially we are producing have the huge resource, and even the resource potential is also more in category 1. Similarly, in category 2 basins also, we have discoveries, but yet to be developed. What is stopping us not developing those discoveries which we have made? We need to monetize at the earliest. We need to maximize the extent of the resource which are there and then produce it. Similarly, category 3, we have yet to discover, we have yet to venture into. We need to go into aggressively explore in these basins also. Who knows? Huge potential might be lying there. Next, please. What is the present subsurface status of subsurface data? If you see the color coded map, where dark green areas are sufficiently surveyed as of now, we do not know. We used to think 4 megapixel camera is good enough to take a photograph, but now it runs to 50 megapixel, 60 megapixel, 40 megapixel, like that we are speaking. Similarly, what we are thinking is sufficiently surveyed may not be sufficiently surveyed. As more and more survey we do, more and more intensify the exploration, probably you run with the different technology, advanced technology, both 2D and 3D modeling, we might sure shot discover the thing, and our risking of finding a oil with the drilling, which needs a capital intensive one, might get reduced. And the light green part, where it is moderately surveyed, and it's all relative and qualitative terms, and the resources are estimated by both 3D modeling and geological analogy. And light yellow part, if you see, where it has a sparse seismic data. Of course, to a certain extent, it has been covered in the recent National Seismic Project, and to some extent, it has been uprised. Probably, you have slightly created a slight window to look into these basins. And here resources have been estimated based on the geological analogy with other world basins. Next, please. What is the basin area which we have? If you see, 39% is in the deep water area, and 12% of area in shallow water area, and 49% is still is there in the on land area. So here we can see the area which is lying in the deep water area and shallow water area, on land area, and 62% of area lies in category 1, and which lies in the offshore part only. Say, for example, Krishna Godavari, Mahanadi, Bengal Basin, Bombay offshore, Kerala Konkan. So the major portion of all these pericratonic basins lies in the offshore. There lies the potential. Maybe circumventing all the clearances where we face the hindrances, we might discover more oil. It is a time to venture more. Of course, it is a capital intensive. I know it is a risky game, but still, there lies the potential, and we might find maybe, in exploration persistence space. As you have seen, everybody said, the big discoveries have gone, bygone era, but still ExxonMobil could discover in the offshore Guyana huge reserves. How come they could reserve? So similarly, I believe the Krishna Godavari Basin and these Bengal basins has a huge potential. Only thing is we need to find out where the oil and gas accumulation locales are there. Next, please. This is the status of exploration. If you see, what is the total appraised area, 57% is in the deep water, and 22% is in the onshore, and then 21% is in the shallow water. If you see the total area, what is the appraised area, what is the active area? If you really look into what is the active area, we have very less active area out of the total sedimentary basinal area. So here lies the potential. We need to intensify exploration, and the government should also enable and is in the process of enabling, unless until the stakeholders of these exploration business brings what is required for enabling mechanism, what is required, that can be brought into the thing, so that our sedimentary basins are well explored and the potential is established and brought to the surface for the utilization of the human mankind. Next, please. So where lies as of now, with the present exploration which we have done so far, where the hydrocarbons lies? The maximum part is in tertiary, and the next potential lies Mesozoic. These are not the standard one. As we see on the WhatsApp several times, the growth pattern of the COVID, growth pattern of the economic progress, all those things. These bars can move further ahead, further shrink also. Maybe we might have to find huge potential which lies Mesozoic, which may be there, because elsewhere in the world, Mesozoics produce more. So Mesozoic bar may be more than the tertiary bar. How we develop all these different geological ages place and then bring the potential and establish these bars can move and to the front and back. So we need to look into and explore these different geological age place. Major resources lie in the younger tertiary place as indicated in the thing, but most preferred target for exploration being proven with less risk is there in these basin, and in these place we need to look in the different place also. Next, please. And potential across the basin category, if you see here, the cat is still the potential. Whatever exploration which we have done so far, large potential lies in the category 1 basin. Why? Because many people say, the people who passionately don't believe in the exploration, the basins are explored well, and whatever has to be discovered and discovered. No, with the technology available 30-40 years back, whatever has been discovered, you cannot say today. If you look at some of the wells drilled in the good old days, initial years of the national oil companies, and if you really run a 3D and see, some of the wells are located in such places where you feel, why this well was drilled? That was the technology available, that was the wells were drilled, but the wells were not drilled. Maybe you have seen on the seismic a hump, but you might not have seen a container. That how the container will be seen? The container will be seen when you run a high resolution seismic and a 3D seismic or 4D seismic, whatever it is, the technology which is available. So we need to run through all these producing fields, all these category 1 basins where the already commercial production is taking place. We need to find out the bypass oil, we need to find out new oil in the old fields, and there lies the huge potential. That's where these resources have to be brought and converted into the reserves and the production subsequently. That's where the production potential lies with regard to whatever is this conference which you are looking for further ahead by 2050. Next, please.
It is requested to expedite, please. We are short
okay.
of time.
Yeah, as I said, exploration people get a small cake, but once the cake is given, we know what is our upper side. We take that one.
Okay.
This is the basin area and resource potential which has been pictorially represented and which can be taken. And I will really, I will heed to the advice of the co-chair and I will rush through. Next, please. Otherwise, I can speak half of the day. Next, please.
We are in separate lectures.
Yeah. Next, please. So this is the, what is the resource potential lies in various basins, how it is. Cambay has its in place of 70% discovered, while Mumbai has 50%. KG and Rajasthan are relatively new basins. As you know, recently we have discovered in the Kerala, Konkan and Bengal. These are the category basins, and by intensifying exploration, these can be and brought, already started be discovered, and we produce straight away jump to the category 1 basin, skipping the category 2. Next, please. The recently government has done to apprise where the scanty data is there through National Seismic Program. I will not deal into the detail this one, and 48,243 line kilometer which has been designed and put in these category 2 and category 3 basins, and these where the investor was reluctant to invest, the government has invested and to appraise the basin to a certain extent so that this can be looked into, and a window was created to look into the sedimentary basins. Next, please. These NSP has given certain leads in the basins where earlier we used to think there may not be any oil and gas, like in a Kadapa basin. Some of the rocks are metamorpho, but the accumulation leads shows maybe these leads have to be tested. And similarly, Rajasthan also certain leads were identified through NSP data. Next, please. And similarly, we recently taken up an appraisal program in Andaman. Maybe these Andaman sediments, which has the clay continuity from the Irrawaddy River Delta, where the major discoveries of Etagon and other fields which have been discovered, we expect that this potential is there. The seismic survey, DGH has launched a campaign, and soon, these acquisition of 15,000 line kilometer will be taken place in Andaman, and so that investors can come in and then produce. Next, please. The policy reforms, I will not speak. A lot of panelists have spoken in the earlier session. There is a continuous process of policy reforms which has taken place right from the pre-independence days, and then after independence also, then we moved from nomination regime. Nomination regime is basically that time only two national oil and gas companies were there. They have been given the mandate and they were carrying out. Subsequently, pre-Nel Para has come, Nel Para has come, and then DSF, HELP area, wherein now the OLP regime, where the blocks can be carved out, and then you can look into the potential and you can devise your own exploration program and produce. Next, please. What is the way forward? As I said, intensive seismic survey for mapping and appraising the basin area, and clay-based exploration is one concept which has come into the play. From the play to prospect, prospect to lead to this one, and then produce from these things. The clay-based exploration makes you understand the complete petroleum system, and we need to leverage the technology to take the best images below the basalt and other places, and we need to use the advanced processing and other things. Continuous review of exploration stage gates. That means what? Once we carry out the seismic survey, you revisit the seismic survey, reinterpret the seismic survey, several times reinterpret, maybe first opinion, second opinion, third opinion. Then you go for the drilling. We need not to feed locations for drilling. We need to do thorough exploration. We need to do thoroughly interpret. Once we are sure that risk has been mitigated, then only we should go for drilling. And that is the lacunae which is taking place. And most of the geologists and explorationists we are feeding to the risks. That should be stopped, and then we need to do a meticulous interpretation and then reduce the risk while drilling. Advanced data analytics to be used to create the value, and there is a lot of potential yet to discover, yet to find potential. Aggressive how this will happen? Aggressive exploration in established and known and new place, which has to be done. Next, please. Thank you very much. As I have a small quote. The wrong person in the wrong place creates a regression. The wrong person in the right place creates confusion. And similarly, a right person in the right place will give the multiplication. Let's hope this multiplication in oil and gas production takes place by putting the right people in the right places. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Laxma Reddy. I think you have given a very good snapshot about the exploration, appraisal of the sedimentary basins, and the new technology to be used. And aggressive exploration was your main stress. I think it will only bring our future in a good shape. Thank you very much. And now I invite Dr. Sandilya, Mr. Sandilya, for his next presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shaktawat, sir. Respected chair, co-chair, co-speaker. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, very much.
Thank you very much. Very good afternoon unto all the virtual audience who are connected through the net. A very good afternoon. The topic what has been given to me is achieving the recessed hydrocarbon potential. I think both metaphorically as well as physically, the time is less and a large need to be done. Because if we look, even I'm talking in the terms of the presentation time that is given to us to cover a large topic, as well as the resource, the task at the hand of converting the reassessed hydrocarbon resource potential into reserves or producible reserves. The opinions what I'm going to share in this presentation are personal and need not necessarily of that company. So can they share my presentation? Can I have the
yes, please. Prasanjit, please share.
I'd like to be brief and fast because I know the time is ticking.
Yes, please. 20 minutes will be
right, sir. I have to complete before that itself. If
Thank you very much.
possible. Can I have the next slide, please? A couple of slides you can. This is the general sequence of presentation, which I'm not going to talk. Can we go to the next slide, please? Right. Here I would like to say something onto this. This is the BP's projection of what is the current Indian scenario, as well as where we stand projection for the 2050. If you look that more than 90% of the current Indian oil production or the consumption which is required in 2050 is to be met by enhanced production. Similarly, there is a growth of around more than 250 to 300% of the gas requirement, which we need to do. This is a tall task. And we have since morning, we are seeing a lot of curves showing that there is going to be a renewables renewables is going to take a major center stage, and the life of oil and gas is likely or is going to diminish over the period of that time. But however, said and done, petroleum or the liquid fluids or the hydrocarbon fuels cannot be separated from the human life. They will be the part of the life, maybe in the change transform. If the electricity changes over, we need to have something called as running the power plants. So optimistically going, though the role of oil and gas is going to reduce substantially, still we have a large task at the hand to. Can I have the next slide, please? The next slide is just in a statement. The prognosticated resource assessment of is around 41.87 BT, whereas we have a huge resource potential of 29.79 BT, out of which around 21 BT has already been discovered by, and we are producing it. Can I have the next slide? Can we skip? But how do we achieve this? Taking an overall picture of the acreages, as Reddy has already told, that we have only covered 9% of the area has been actively or aggressively explored. Looking at the total area available, we have in the category basis of 47%, 30% in the category, 30% in category 1, 47% in category 3, and around 23% in category 2. Available location, clear available area for us works out to be around 21 lakh square kilometers of the area. The area under no-go, what we call where ONGC or any operator is not allowed to accounts around 9 lakh square kilometers, which is around 28%. Out of the total, this thing around 38%, 9% is under active exploration. So under this scenario, we have a large tracts of the areas which are available, but how do we go ahead when much of the area is not under active exploration, nor it's not accessible? I think for any given time, when for any country, 28% of the area is non-available for the next active exploration is fairly large. So out of this 49 or the 29 balance BT of oil and gas reserves, how much is locked up in this area is anybody's guess. Is quite considerable. Coming to the, can I have the next slide, please? Coming to the next slide, which are the areas which have larger areas? This is the no-go map of or the acreage and the basinal level map of the India. You can see all those red areas, entire Andaman, entire east coast, best part of the west coast, I mean deep water and other areas. You will go into the Lahore, Spiti and Janskar. Most of the areas have been covered as no-go areas. The key areas where active exploration can be aggressively taken. We do know There are a lot of efforts have been done by the government of India in consultation with MOD to clear these areas for active exploration. But I believe that we need to have a policy in place to work out in these areas. Can we go to the next slide, please? These are the area specific. If you look at the category 1 basin, Kaveri has a huge amount of land or the acreage available for active exploration. But the policies over there, the state government rules are really an hindrance for us to go for an active exploration. Look at Rajasthan. We have huge volume, around 1 lakh square kilometer of areas available. Assam Arakan, entire fold belt area, Kachar Assam. These are the areas where we know there are active petroleum systems are available to us, which are very good, but we cannot do anything. Logistically difficult, or they are not easily accessible, or we have the policies which are not very much in favor of continuing active exploration. Let's look into the category 2 basin now. Andaman, 1 lakh square kilometers. Mahanadi, around 38,000. Vindhyan, total 1,75,000 square kilometers of area. Saurashtra, 1,13,000. Huge areas are available for us, or which have not been explored. Can I have the next slide, please? Let's look into the category 3 basins. I'm not going to the details of category 1 and category 2 because it's already been amply been told. A total area around 1 lakh square kilometers. These areas, especially Himalayan foreland, Ganga, the Inclides, starting from Satpuras, Kadapa, Bengal, Kerala, Konkan, huge tracts are available, and we need to do something to get them onto the exploration. These are the potential future areas where we can look into. Can I have the next slide, please? Briefly going to the history of the resource estimations in India. Way back in 1964, we started with a 5.8. There was an estimate where everybody thought that this country has. Now, by 2017, we rose to 42, near 42 BT. This shows a total potential of resources that we can think of or we have with us. This may be, for me, this is a lesser number comparatively, because we have taken the data of only category 1 basis, because there is a huge amount of data bias when we assess the resource potential. The category 1 basins, by virtue of their extensive exploration, that we might have taken a large amount of data control, whereas category and category 2, by virtue of their scanty data, they have been less assessed or sometimes over-assessed. Only the time will tell, and only the exploration, further exploration in these areas will give us an idea. Can I have the, I'd like to bring one more important point in this slide, is that a total of 177 plate types have been identified through the resource estimation studies. It's not small, it's extremely big. And we have ample number of places still available to be explored. Can I have the next slide, please? I think one slide back. Thank you. This is the way the resource distribution practice happened. One more, next slide, please. Thank you. If you look at the hydrocarbon distribution basin category wise, category 2 has only 9%. This is what I just spoke about earlier. Category 3 has 6%, and category 1, again, in a high bias of 85% of the resources are estimated. For me, this gives a scope in category and category 3, a large scope, because the data control is quite low and there are chances of getting larger ones. Total undiscovered hydrocarbon resources, if you see, again, this is 29792, category 1 has 80% of it. Surprisingly, 80% of the yet to discovered hydrocarbons are also yet to come from the category 1 basins, whereas category 2 and 3 totally makes 20% of it. This also calls for a kind of an enhanced exploration efforts in the category 1 basin.
Hello. Yes, please.
Next slide, please. Right. This is the one where basin-wise we can see the redistribution, the distribution of the resources have happened. Two basins which I would like to point out very clearly is Assam Arakan Shelf, KG. As Dr. Reddy has rightly pointed out, KG has a huge scope to do it. Similarly, Assam Arakan, only a tip of iceberg has been checked. Those 100 years we are producing from Assam Arakan, it still looks to be large amount of hydrocarbons are yet to be formed. Rajasthan is another candidate where we have to seriously look. Subsequent to the Cairn's discovery, I think Rajasthan really deserves to be looked much more into, either Jaisalmer, Bikaner, Nagaur, and other two basins. Coming to the Saurashtra category 2 basins, the basins where we must focus is Saurashtra. The recent NSP has really brought out an excellent structural features. If possible, I'll show a couple of them, where we have a large scope to work in Saurashtra basin. Vindhyan, for me, it's an underrated basin. The recent exploratory forays by ONGC, my company, it's proved that India joined the elite club of Precambrian gases by discovery of Hatta-2. Hatta-2, basically in a fracture reservoir, everybody knows that has produced around 60 to 70,000 cubic meters of gas. For that type of a reservoir is fairly high, multiplied with the total aerial extent. A large, huge potential is still awaiting for us to be discovered. The focus should be more on the Vindhyan basins. Bengal, I did not tell that already we have declared the basin, which proved to be hydrocarbon. Perseverance is the classic example where it says that a basin which is written off or thought of lesser potential could be proved after perseverance. Similarly, Kutch offshore, it's opening up, and as per our predicaments, that the Kutch is going to be the future. It's going to be huge. Jurassic systems are going to open up, and it's indeed a very enlightening to see the number of activities that are happening in the Kutch Saurashtra basin. What is next slide, please? Yeah, next one. Skip into this. See, what are the key challenges for us? Realizing the YTF from the category 1 basins. Yes, the petroleum systems are very well known, difficult to explore and difficult to produce. There are areas within the category 1 basins, which are extremely difficult to probe or to explore and to produce. That's what I was talking about, the Assam Arakan, and logistically complicated. Entire the coastal tract of KG Basin, Kaveri, where we cannot enter because of the logistic difficulties, data limitations, environmental clearances. These are the potential areas. Globally, it is very well known that coastal tracts are the primary areas for us to get into the hydrocarbons. Most of the global discoveries are along to the coastal tracts. But here in India, unfortunately, maybe a number of reasons that we are unable to realize our coastal tract, total coastal tract potential. Coming to the category 2 basins, investment in exploration category 2 basins. Yes, there will be reservations in this, unknown PSC elements, scanty data, geologically either older, either Precambrians or the older, or very, very young basins, Karavas and other basins. Extensive geologically availability, the geologically favorable conditions are available. They need to be understood in depth. Non-availability of fit-to-purpose technologies. Talk of the high hydrofracturing, requirement of the hydrofracturing, whether we have a sufficient technology, less water technology, hydrofracturing. It's well known that hydrofracturing in a densely populated like country of India is going to face severe constraints. So recently we had a discussion with the Equinor where it has been told that they are developing something called as a less water used hydrofracturing. Hydrofracturing is the one which uses engulfs a huge amount of the oil and water. And India being a scanty in the water resources, the research need to be developed in understanding what kind of a less water related hydrofracturing can be done so these tight reservoirs can be put into use or could be established. R&D, as it's well known in the entire industry, oil industry is very slow in getting the R&D. We generally don't accept the R&D challenges. I mean, because of the cost intensity of nature of our industry, we'd like to go a bit slow in implementing the new R&Ds and over and above all the technology disruptions. Yes, of course. Tomorrow, if the hydrogen takes over everything, oil and gas will go back, like what the mobiles did to the conventional phones. And environmental and socio-political issues. These are the ones, the environmental and the social, invariably they are affecting or pulling us back. Environment, yes, we have to be very conscious of the environment. That's a need of the hour and the socio-political issues. What are the opportunities that we have? We have a availability of vast, less explored areas, increasing in demand of energy, keeping the growth conditions of the India where we need to have a lot of energy, rapid technological advancements, application of AI, ML to geoscience. This is a new forum, entire thing is getting opened up. Big data analyticals, application of the AI, how these things are going to reduce the challenges that we are facing and reduce the uncertainties in our industry so that with the minimum uncertainty, we can achieve the maximum. And the policy framework. Since morning, we are discussing about the policy frameworks. I need not reiterate. There are a number of plethora of policy changes which are coming. Very encouraging policy resources are changes for framework changes are coming, which is more investor friendly and more exploration friendly also. Nevertheless, there are certain changes which need to be coming to this, but still the current policy framework in India is the most favorable for to continue the exploration. Can I have the next slide, please? What are the key enablers to do this? Play-based exploration, improved seismic imaging, enhanced use of non-seismic technologies, digitalization, big data and AI, robotics and automatics, and of course, the fertile human mind. Whatever we have, the right use of technology in the right place and with the out-of-box ideas is the key for realizing all the resources what we have. Coming to the play-based exploration, I would like to just recall the Lisa discovery of ExxonMobil. It's an interesting story if you see. It starts from plate reconstruction of the production. And Exxon, they believe in saying that it's plate to pose. Right, that is the right approach. Entire thing that what we have to do is from plate to pose.
No.
Starting construction.
No.
Blow is
That's
unit. Can I go to the next slide, please? And I think I'll not discuss about why place.
Dr. Sandilya, please expedite. I think we are running short of time.
I'm just doing it, sir. So I'll not go into this. What are the technologies that we are going to have which is going to help for us to get into this? Can I have next slide, please? Next slide, please. Next one. Right. Next one. Yes, sir. So what are some of the new state-of-art technologies which have been inducted? Of course, I'm talking with reference to my company, but globally, which are available. One is a multi-component surveys, 4D seismic surveys. This 4D seismic survey, I would like to say, is the one which is going to discover and give us more oil from the already established category 1 basins, broadband, to marine, wide azimuth surveys, seismic guided drilling, nodal technologies, controlled source electromagnetics, full tensor gravitometry, passive technologies, advanced processing and interpretation, improved visualization, big data analytics, and machine learning. Can I go for the next slide, please? I'll quickly finish off, sir. Yeah, this is a gravitometry. Recently, we carried out a survey in Kachara and Mizoram and Geliki areas. And my request to the government of India is this is one powerful tool where entire country, all the sedimentary basins of India can be covered through gravity gradiometry surveys, or so that we'll have the base data of the basin configurations, more certainty and better resolutions can be planned subsequently. Can I go to the next slide, please? Another one is the multi-component 4D seismic data. Yes, this is the data where we are going to get a lot of information, including the PPYVS, reservoir characterizations, a lot of information about these things. But can I go to the next slide, please? Big data analytics. This is another one where we can start from the coast to the basin, geological level. Here, my request to the entire universities or the industry leaders is this: the Generation X is the one which can achieve this dream much better because of their exposure to the new systems, new technologies, as well as being very computer savvy. The Generation X need to be trained in understanding the big data analytics and application of it to the sciences. Next one, please. This is how the artificial intelligence is used in the entire industry. Yes, we know we can create a mist log, we can create attributes, we can correlate, we can create genetic environments, whatnot, a plethora of things from integrating the data. Can I go to the next one, please? Passive seismics that we are carrying to understand the entire basinal configuration so that our de-risking can be done much better. Can we go for the next one? Next slide, please. Induction of the new technologies, as I said, that hydrofracturing and plethora of other technologies, so that these basins can be addressed in holistically. Can I go for the next slide, please? These are some of the opportunities what I was saying. These are the recent ASP lines thanks to DGH and the Government of India for an extensive 3D. The first one, the slide which is on the top left, is the one which is from the Kalapa Basin. The total line length is 94, where the structure looks to be not even less than 30 to 40. The next section, what I was talking about, is another line which is coming from the Ganga Punjab plain, where the structure relation itself says huge big, 50 to 60 square kilometers. The down left is the one which is we are talking about the Saurashtra, and the further down is in a conventional 2D data from Mahanadi, where it shows where there is a huge Cretaceous we have not even tested or touched. These are the future areas where we can look into besides the existing category 1 basins. Can you go for the next slide, please? Next one, please. What are the advantages in India? Transformation policy changes made in the hydrocarbon sector over the last few years that we have already discussed. Private sector participation, yes, it is happening efficiently. Efficient operations, higher infrastructure capacities. Digitalization of the hydrocarbon sector. Yes, there is a need of the whole ecosystem of policies enacted by Government of India. And robust demand for oil and gas, rising investment, support to FDA guidelines, policy support, and towards a gas-based economy. One nation, one grid, and the gas exchanges is some of the policy enablers for us to enhance the exploration activities. The next one, please. Next one, please. What is the way forward? Universities under APM for natural gas. Gas pricing model for India's specific conditions is the need of the hour. Reform-related challenges. The reforms impact only 20% of gas production, while the nominated India accounts for the 80%. So we need to have a change in this. Incentivizing exploration category 2 and category 3 basis with a longer exploration phase. This is the need of the hour. Why? In fact, in the morning also, there's a welcome suggestion. Why only category 2 and category 3 basis should be given a kind of a special treatment? The unexplored parts or the difficult areas of the category 1 under deep waters should also have a similar terms like that of category 2 and 3. But category 2 and 3 basins being the very difficult or yet to known basins, the timeline should be different. Let's say if you frame them everything in the 3-year or 4-year timelines as of the current OLAP, the input which is required in category 2 and 3 may not yield the desired results, whereas it needs a larger time of 4 to 5 years. So my request to be that we need to have a larger time period for category 2 and category 3 basins. And we have built in the entire strategy plans into our working systems. And the next slide, please. Conclusions. Exploratory efforts and activities are expected to increase in view of the new opportunities of exploration acreages. Enhancing oil and gas production by establishing new funds. Yes, as the government is keen to reduce oil and gas import dependency. The expeditious development of the discoveries, as somebody in the morning session I was already told. Yes, we need to address these things immediately. Devising a strategy of higher ultimate reserve levels, especially in category 2 basins, will undertake and lead to the commensurate higher oil and gas production. Intense G&J technology pursued to realize the deeper play potential of the conventional reservoirs. Exploration foray into category 2 and 3 basins for the opening emerging place and the new place. It doesn't mean that we are not talking about the unconventionals. Everything has to be seen holistically. And then exploration activities ought to be strategized in order to maximize resource conversion and economic recovery of oil and gas resources, both in mature and frontier plays across the different basins. Such strategic effect is all more required to the offset natural decline in production from the existing fields. And present study of YTF hydrocarbon amongst the 26 sedimentary basins suggests that category 1 basins should attract more aggressive exploration, followed by play testing and play information data, gathering efforts in category 2 and category 3 basins. Can I go for the next slide, please? Prospecting for oil is a dynamic art. The greatest event in all prospecting, past, present, and future, is a man willing to take the chance. Definitely, this is with this I would like to sign off. This great saying from de Goyler. Yes, whatever our industry is associated with the risk, if the man or the companies and the districts are not willing to take the chance, we'll be left behind. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Sandilya. I think it was a very nice lecture and very new ideas you have given. And I think our audiences will be benefited from this. Now I invite the next speaker, Mr. Indrajit Barua, on the topic Accelerated Exploration, Surmounting Frontier Challenges.
Thank you, Shaktawat Sahab. Hope I'm audible. Still audible? Yeah, good afternoon to the chair, co-chair, co-panelists, backstage guys, and also the huge virtual audience. It is indeed a great honor for me to be able to deliver this presentation to this August gathering, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Like Chandrima had said some time back, that I work with a group looking after the frontier exploration of my company, Shelf and Assam Arakan Basin. I'd like to share some of my experiences in this basin and some of the strategies that have been and may be adopted to tide over the inherent challenges. Can I have a presentation, please? Thank you. This new bridge, as you can see on the slide, the new bridge on the massive riverine territory, it was inaugurated by the Honorable PM himself, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and it sort of symbolizes not only the development which has taken place across the country, but it also depicts the acceleration of exploration that is taking place in the country. The area to the north of the river is all set to it was an unexplored area, a very sparsely explored area till yesterday. But once the bridge has come up, now we are all set to drill a ultra deep 6,450 meter well, based on a very good quality of seismic data, which has come after the coming of the bridge. So next slide, please. As the title of this slide says, these are very favorable times for exploration in India. 60 years of sustained exploration, as Mr. Chandilya has said, efforts have resulted in the erstwhile Category 3 Bengal Basin being added to the 8th producing basin of the country. Particularly the year 2017 was a milestone in the Indian oil and gas industry. It was the coming of the OLP rounds, NDR came into existence, the resource reassessment study was completed. The assessment showed that the Category 1 basins, this Category 1 basins, Assam Shelf and the Assam Arakan Belt Basin, still holds around 5,588 million tons of oil equivalent of undiscovered resources, which constitute about 19% of the sedimentary basins of the country. Based on Oil India's experience of working in this basin for ages, the Assam Arakan Fold Belt sitting on the kitchen of the basin's petroleum kitchen, we feel that there is more scope for accretion considering the sparse exploration which has taken place. The logic is further augmented as less than 25% of the on-land sedimentary basins of the country being explored till 2017. The provision provided by the new policy, OLP policy or the HELP policy, that helped the companies to identify the chosen areas for exploration was a real fillip for the operators. During this period, Oil India Limited has increased its acreage substantially from around 25,000 to 58,340 square kilometers after the coming of the new policy. Next, please. So, a major focus has also now shifted to the frontier exploration in the country and also in the basin. And what can be a better classic example of a frontier basin than the Assam Shelf and the Assam Arakan fold well basin? Because even after so many years, maybe 100 years of exploration here, there are still a lot of areas which exploration has not touched. In this Assam Shelf and Assam Arakan basin, exploration has now expanded into from the shelf area into the riverine and the hilly areas of the basin. Periodic exploration campaigns have taken place, no doubt about it, but they have been very periodic. And now, after the coming of the new policy, Oil and Vedanta has joined ONGC in a very big way. Next slide, please. With the frontier exploration comes also the challenges. The challenges are similar all across the globe, but I'll be focusing more on our area, the Assam Arakan Basin. And these challenges have prevented oil and gas operators from carrying out exploratory activities over much of the remaining prospective exploratory areas of the world. The main hurdles are surface logistics. In the northeastern part of the country, around 65% of the area is under forest cover. Then we have sedimentary areas reaching heights of altitudes of 1800 to 2000 meters. So it is quite a rugged terrain. And along with it comes the challenges, which are preparatory services. Because of the surface logistics, the preparatory services have extended times to be completed. Then project management is a big challenge because you don't have services in the or infrastructure in the vicinity. So what happens, synchronizing between different parts of the workflow is a real challenge. And the third part is protection of the environment because like I said, most of it is forest covered area. So we definitely have to have a very good environment management plan in place to protect the environment as we continue our operations. So the oil and gas industry has to deal with high risk, high cost exploration projects with low return periods, and drilling of exploratory wells involves decisions with extremely high cost and risk. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are, it's not showing very well, but the frontier exploration has its subsurface challenges because you have subsurface complexities and imaging problems because of that areas are very tectonically disturbed. Then you also have deeper depths. You have to, because of repetition of beds and thick sedimentary pile, they result in deeper depths, both for imaging and drilling. Then again, drilling operations are fraught with challenges, not only because of the depth, but also because of the non-horizontal or low, it's a high dip and disposition of the beds. And again, because of this high dipping beds, the major hindrance is in acquiring good quality seismic data. Then surface and subsurface, we do have thick boulder beds, which affects energy penetration, resulting in a very poor signal to noise ratio. Next slide, please. Next, please. Just one before this, please. Yeah, these are some of the surface challenges actually. As you can see on the left, those are the hilly terrains that we have to deal with. And so preparing a drilling plinth requires enormous work. And so in the last, on the right hand slide, you can see, right hand cartoon, you can see drill well plinth which have been made from this rugged terrains. And along with these come narrow roads, sharp turnings, weak bridges, regular landslides, inundation of the roads, which make movement of loads related to drilling operations a major challenge. Next slide, please. So the impediments to frontier exploration, we can say that oil and gas exploration of frontier areas inevitably require huge investments and long lead times before reasonable knowledge about its prospectivity is accumulated. Results that the explored area is unfavorable for oil and gas accumulation and no commercial discoveries can be expected will be available only after various stages of exploration workflow has been completed. Operators must incur huge costs and risks that cannot be easily mitigated regardless of the exploratory outcome. This is more applicable in areas where we expect gas, and because of the huge cost incurred, whether these can be, the techno-economics can be feasible is a big question. Thus, the long lead time and the risk associated with the current exploration model hamper the development of new oil and gas resources worldwide. Sorry, next slide, please. Impediments are applicable to the whole world, actually, the different sedimentary basins of the world, because worldwide there are many examples of potentially attractive exploratory plays that remain underexplored or unexplored due to the difficulty involved in financing and executing the activities dictated by the current world order, and partly due to the marginal attractiveness of the current oil prices. Despite the oil prices reaching a 1-year high recently, Duarders and Jones' analysis seems still to hold true that this scenario is believed to be a result of fundamental imbalance in supply and demand conditions, which should suggest that the prices may be in a long-term cycle of lower equilibrium levels rather than undergoing a market fluctuation of relatively limited duration. Another major impediment in worldwide to investing in exploration projects conducted by potential operators is the unacceptable risk that cannot be easily mitigated. Next slide, please. Well, some of the strategies to surmount the frontier challenges, there's no cut and dried method we do not have a cut and dried strategy to surmount the frontier challenges, but some points we can put into place is that we have to adopt an exploration model which is needed to shorten the time required for the GNG information to be acquired. Then effective and meticulous planning to decrease the lead time for each operation related to the exploration process, right from imaging to production testing. Then allow risk reduction measures to be applied to the exploration process. And this exploration model adopted would enable industry to effectively and efficiently explore and find petroleum resources by deploying relatively inexpensive, fast, and easy to employ right tools and techniques at the beginning of the exploratory process over large areas. The objective would be to obtain indications of the existence of possible hydrocarbon accumulations, if any accumulations were to be indicated. Additional investigations to be conducted using conventional geophysical techniques, 2D and 3D seismic. Another strategy would be availability of service providers in the vicinity. Because the non-availability of service providers in these frontier areas lead to very short lead times in mobilization of, very long lead times in the mobilization of equipment and services, and this really is a cost intensive exercise. Next slide, please. So I think Mrs. Sandilya has already touched upon this, but then some alternate geophysical techniques could be used as investigative tools prior to bringing in the conventional seismic techniques or the processes for assessing the hydrocarbon prospectivity. In this direction, seismic still stays the king, is still the king. We cannot deny that. But then other techniques and technologies could be explored. In this regard, we as a company have already brought in high resolution seismic to sort of image the trusted areas which have created problems since a long time. We have brought in cableless and cable-free technology, and hybrid seismic data recording system is in the offing. And these are the methods which have already been touched upon by my early speakers: airborne gravity gadriometry, utilization of passive seismic tomography to prepare reliable velocity model to augment in geophysical data processing, controls source electromagnetic, magnetotelluric survey, then stress field detection. These are certain provided we can, they are fit for purpose. And next slide, please. And finally, I come to my last slide. I would like to conclude here. But as an industry person and having worked occasionally with DGH and particularly Shri SCL Das, DG DGH, Shri Amarnath, JS MOPNG, then Dr. Laxmi Reddy and Joydeep Lahiri of the Environment Group, we have seen that huge efforts have been put in by them to facilitate seamless exploration opportunities. I'm sure there are more changes in the offing. For example, huge strides have been taken place in clearances, statutory clearances, so far environment and forest, and there's been a lot of easing of the process, and we are very grateful for that. But while the easing of the processes has taken place, we are still adhering to the protection of the environment. So the need of the hour for frontier exploration, I would say, I'd sum up this way, is to sustain the momentum of exploration in the new normal, both in terms of the menacing pandemic and also the commodity price. And there should be an appreciation of the challenges of the frontier areas by all concerned, including say audit authorities and so on and so forth. And a few requests from our side is that we would ask for a provision of a special dispensation of either 2 or 3 additional years for the exploration blocks which are located in the frontier areas, particularly, and for that to sort of differentiate between frontier areas or the logistically difficult areas and the sort of normal areas. We have placed a request to DGH for taking a cutoff of around 140 meters, areas of 150 meters above mean sea level, which could be sort of classified as logistically difficult areas, and a special dispensation could be provided. And we also think of that by the operators of which are working in these areas, in the frontier areas, or rather in the basin, we could pool our resources together for development of a service hub, so that the long lead times are cut down. And this provision of three additional years would be utilized in efficient planning and execution for overcoming logistics challenges for operation and preparatory services, planning for an efficient management plan for the fragile natural environment, and deployment of unconventional exploration tools and techniques for risk reduction measures to be adopted to the exploration process. And with this, I come to the end of my presentation. And just to following Shaktawat Saab's dictate, I have avoided the thank you slide and combined the thank you slide over here. And thank you to all the organizers for putting up a wonderful and fruitful event and giving me this opportunity to speak here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Barua. I think you have brought out a very nice sketch about the challenges and opportunities in the northeastern sector, and huge potential which is to be tapped. So I think our audiences will be very much benefited by your lecture. And now I invite Mr. Neeraj Sinha. Next, he is from VP RIL on the exploration challenges in offshore and E&P activities. Some of our friends are telling that the slides are very small. So I think you can go on the right-hand side button and expand it so other viewers can see the large slides. Please continue, Sinhaji.
Yeah, thank you, Shaktawat. So, hello everybody, session chair, co-chair, dear panelists, and I see around 328 attendees, so quite a lot in a virtual session. So I think I'll straight away jump into my slides with that. So may I request to put up the slides, please? Thank you. Go to the next one. So this is a standard disclaimer slide that is proprietary Reliance data and should be used only after adequate permissions. Next slide, please. So to connect with the theme of the session, the Vision 2050, I thought let me start with this slide. So, pre-industrial era is basically defined as or refers to times before the present, where machines and tools were not there to perform the tasks. And the industrial era was like where the machines and tools developed en masse, to do the jobs, the tasks. So that is what we refer to as the fossil fuel era. Now, you can see the date there, and I put a question mark from fossil fuel era to the sustainable energy era. Different people have different concepts or ideas or dates in mind, and big majors, if you hear the international energy agencies, or there are multiple agencies who model with different data sets, and different people have different numbers. Right from a decade to 3 decades or 4 decades, or even the whole of century. So I'm not going into that debate as of now, but what I'm trying to say is that there is a discussion going on that we are moving into a sustainable energy era, and we'll see the headwinds coming our way as far as the E&P industry is concerned. And as Mr. Das, DG, in the previous session said about adaptive changes. So what are the adjustments that we need to make? What are the changes that we need to adapt to? What are the policy progressions that we need to take? That is important in the present scenario, apart from the geology or exploration that we are going to discuss. Next slide, please. So in that context, it is very important to understand where are the headwinds coming from. So as I said, the headwinds are coming from the alternate energy. The headwinds are coming from the climate change perspective. We know, and everybody knows, there is a drop in offtake of exploration acreage by the big oil. There is tightening of financial resources for the oil exploration, especially in Europe to start with. There is possibility of stranded assets at quite some places. Future energy mix, as we know, for India, gas is going to be very important. And gas is still cleaner, so still, we can explore for gas, produce more gas. Reliance has started, Reliance PP combined have started production of gas from its ultra deep water field recently. So what are the technology initiatives, policy initiatives that we need to keep in mind to go through this energy transition, be it a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades, that is anybody's guess. Next slide, please. So I'll straight away jump into a little bit of geology. So, oil and gas industry has seen highs and lows in the economic cycle. So that's what I discussed in the previous slide. But to understand the challenges, it is very important to understand what happened in the past. So I'll focus more on, I adhere to Mr. Shaktawat's advice that, instead of overlapping. So although I'll be focusing, the data will be from KG and Kaveri, but it goes without saying that data may be from any basin, but ultimately you can apply the learnings and the knowledge to any basin that you're going to explore. So the play-based exploration that that has been carried out in KG and Kaveri basins, multiple plays have been explored and discovered, and it is right from the unique basin where discoveries have been made in Jurassic and early Cretaceous Rift plays, and right up to the Pleistocene in the Neogene. So there is a whole gamut of, and it starts from onshore to shallow water to deep water to ultra deep water. So there's no dearth of hydrocarbons being generated, and the last bullet point shows clearly that thermogenic and biogenic both. So there is huge amount of biogenic gas that is generated and trapped in, especially in the late tertiary reservoirs, which are basically slope fans or toe slope fans or even basin floor fans. Next slide, please. So if we just try to understand the success rate, and this is not just Reliance, this is across board. Data may vary here and there because of the way you analyze the data, and this is not commercial success. This is success per se, because still some discoveries may be lined up for production, exploitation. So overall, if you see 20% in Mesozoic, if you look at commercial, then it may be at as Rajiv from BP said in the earlier session, 10-15%. As far as tertiaries are concerned, maybe 35%. Specifically for Reliance, it was like 46%. But overall, when we analyze the data, we saw it is around 35% or so. Now, why it is better in the tertiaries? Because mostly you have amplitude-driven plays in the Maya-Pliocene and Pleistocene, which is biogenic petroleum system in the ultra deep waters and deep waters, but it is also thermogenic in the shallow water areas. Now, we also have analyzed that trap has been the main reason for failure. Sorry, just stay on the slides. Thanks. Trap has been the main reason for failure. No, on the last slide, please. Trap has been the main reason for failure, followed by the reservoir presence. Now, that may be a little bit of an irony because, when we have done so much of 3D seismic, and 3D seismic is basically done to address the trap story, right? So, a little bit of irony, but still, I mean, the subsurface of Mother Earth is like that. We need to understand it more in a much better way. And especially when we are talking about structural traps, not pure structural traps, then the story becomes more complex, and we need to look out for certain subtle updip, clay-filled canyons or channels that trap the hydrocarbons in the coarser clastics downslope. So that is a complexity I'm talking about. Next slide. Yeah. So if we try to understand the source story, and as far as we are concerned, our models say that mostly in the Indian setup, it is type 3 or terrestrial organic matter in the Sinha rift or even in the post rift. Even the tertiaries, Eocene and Paleocene source rocks, mostly it is dominated by terrestrial organic matter, and that is the reason we say that Indian plays are more gassy. Although we have examples of oil plays in Rava and a couple of other smaller discoveries onshore and shallow waters, but dominantly, recent discoveries have been all, or for that matter, ONGC discovery in the KG5 or KG98 part 2. So, but dominantly appears to be more gassy. Now, limited source rock potential we have seen in at least the data that we have analyzed. The post-rift anoxia, the global anoxia. Related to that anoxia, we see very limited source rock in the post-rift sequences. Now, what is the reason for that? And we have our own models, own hypothesis to explain that. Indian plate has moved very fast after the breakup. So the fast breakup might have, led to non-presence kind of enclosed or confined basins. So that's why we don't see a very robust, if I may say, the source rock story in the post-drift sequences. Although having said that, we have seen where the basins are at an orthogonal nature to the breakup story of the Indian East Coast. You do see some pods and pockets of source rock, especially I'm referring to the Kaveri Basin at places. Next, please. Coming to the reservoir story, the reservoir is excellent. We have drilled quite a few wells, and we have seen 30 plus porosity, 30% plus porosity. Now, the porosity destruction based on our model starts at depths of greater than 3,500 meters. Having said that, there is secondary porosity development because of feldspar dissolution. Now, this is just a number, but things may vary, and across the basin and in different water depths. So the reasons for this variation might be the fluid flow, the temperature gradient in that area. So those models, temperature gradient is easier to handle, but as far as fluid flow is concerned, that is the difficult area, and very less data I have seen, at least, that that can be modeled, and you can put your fingers like this is the porosity that I'm going to get in the subsurface, especially in the Cretaceous reservoirs, which are below 3,500 meters. And we know the tight reservoirs that Cairn has drilled in the KG onshore, or the GSPC reservoirs earlier in the shallow waters of KG. Coming to the trap story, as I explained, both structural and stratigraphic traps are there, but most of the tertiary discoveries are in the pinch outs and the onlapping wedges. So that is a difficult play to track and to understand, because we need to clearly see the onlapping wedges and how it behaves, and to de-risk the play in a precise manner with 3D seismic and with clear AVO concepts to start with. Next, please. So quite a few technology. I'm not going to go into each of the technology initiatives that is listed down here, but I talked about the thermal history and fluid flow, which is very important to understand the reservoir story and to place your finger that this is where I want to drill. Rock physics templates I touched upon. So basically, for when you are moving from class 3 to class 2 to class 1 AVO windows, then it is important to collate all the information and data and then try to understand, because it is not a single depth. The depths may vary, water depth wise, or where you are in the basin. So it is very important to understand which is your window in which you are playing. And class 2 to class 3, class 2 to class 1 AVO is the most difficult, AVO window, and the AVO signature can be so subtle that it will be very difficult to, put your fingers on that. This is what I'm looking for. A couple of just stay on the slide, please. So a couple of other things on, earlier presenters mentioned about broadband acquisition and processing. So I'll not go into the details of that. Thin bed evaluation, I'll talk on the next slide, but digital core is one area that more needs to be done. And again, data science initiatives, everybody has talked about, and we know that ML and AI are going to be the in things going forward, and we really need to understand how to use those. And for that, we need data to democratize the data. That is very important, that how we democratize the data so that data is available to everybody, so that anybody who has a new idea, he can be able to integrate on a digital platform and come out with some new new ideas or new play or new ways to understand the same data. So that is going to be very important going forward. Next slide, please. So I did talk about the thin bed analysis, but it is easier said than done. We have faced a lot of problems. We have the image logs, we have the cores, but it is always the problem of scale. How do you integrate the seismic? Ultimately, your seismic is the main tool for the characterization of the reservoir. And these kind of data in the wells, 8.5-inch hole, maybe you have a couple of wells in a reservoir area. So how do you, try to scale up or scale down and try to understand how to populate, thin beds or related sedimentary facies in the whole of the area. So that is still a challenge, and we have faced that challenge. Geomechanics full cycle, there is an upcoming area, and geomechanics is being applied right from exploration stage up to the production stage. And during production stage is more to do with understanding with production how the stresses are changing, whether faults will reactivate or not, and how the reservoir will behave as you start depleting the reservoir and the pressures are going down. That is a very upcoming area, very niche area, and a lot of things still need to be done in that area. Micro CT scan, again, we have tried our hands. I won't say we have succeeded even 50%, I should say, but we are still trying, and it is more to do with unconventional reservoir, but I'll not say that it cannot be done in the conventional reservoir. We have tried our hands on the conventional reservoirs also, and it is an area where you can avoid taking conventional cores. You can live with the cuttings and sidewall cores and try to build your reservoir model based on this thin section and optical petrography analysis of the cuttings and the sidewall cores. Next slide, please. So where are the opportunities? We have seen the challenges. We have seen the past history and whatever learnings are there from the past. So how do you apply, and then where do you see the opportunities? So I mean, some of the techniques like technology induction that is required on the play-based approach that everybody talked about, like from Mr. Reddy to Mr. Sandilya, that we need powerful maps. We need a lot of data integration to exactly say which area is an upcoming area or which area we need to focus on. So that requires a lot of integration, not just within the company but across companies. And I still remember a very good session, I think at least 5 years back, that I had with ONGC friends on Mahanadi. It was a very invigorating session. I think it was on Mahanadi and Kaveri both, in which a lot of data exchange and a lot of information exchange was done. So some kind of a platform where and workshops where DGH can play the pivotal role and organize such workshops, so that you can small informations or data exchanges can be also done, and such powerful maps can be created for sediment dispersal or source rock maturation story or burial story, or then we can do a better job of analyzing the basin. So where are the opportunities? I mean, we have discussed about the plays that we have discovered, but do we have some opportunities in the post-rift sequences in KG Basin or Kaveri or whatever? We have discoveries, but they are small. They don't live up to expectations of deep water, the size that you need to develop them. Basin floor fans going into the ultra deep waters. ONGC has discovered, we have also discovered in ultra deep waters, but there could be still scope going into that domain. But we need larger discoveries to make it happen, to tie it back to the existing infrastructure. Stratigraphic plays are as such difficult plays, and more work needs to be done with new technologies, basically better bandwidth in the seismic and deeper imaging, better AVOs. The far offset data should be much better than what we have now. And fracture basement, again, I have put it there, but there could be few locales here and there where we can still try our hands. But again, it's a difficult play as far as especially deep waters, or even more to do with shallow waters. And but still, if it is somebody can want to try your hand, it is good area to still try their hands on. Next one, please. Now this one on special request of Mr. Shaktawat, we did some good work on the West Coast, and I still believe there are a lot of gaps in the plate tectonic models put up by Colin Reeves or others, and still more can be done by integrating the data from East Africa to Madagascar to India to Sri Lanka to Antarctica, right? So we did some work there, and based on that, we did some work on the Kerala Konkan seismics, And the image that you see on the right is basically, I don't know whether it is really sediments in that kind of a syndrift graben kind of a situation, or it is mixture of basalts and sediments. So more geophysical inputs to analyze that those events need to be done, and still that area can come up. Although it is, since it is a strike slip margin, so the narrow and the zone will be very narrow, and it won't be very wide. That is our perception. So those are a few areas that I think can be of of future opportunities. Next slide, please. So that is the end of the presentation. So key takeaways in the current energy transition phase and the climate change that talks that we are going through. So E&P has to be more resilient. We need to have more process technology adoptions, and how to make workforce constantly aware of the challenges, so that they can rise above the day-to-day work and kind of think out of the box. As I said, gas, and everybody knows gas will be a transition fuel, and we need to find more gas. And as I said earlier, that India, especially East Coast, appears to be more gassy. So that way we are well placed. So let us find more gas in the deep waters, ultra deep waters of the Indian East Coast. And I'll still say unconventional will still play some role in the energy security, but still more needs to be done. We have not done much on the shale play. CBM production, some companies are doing, but still a lot of scope to do more on that area. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Sinha. I think you have touched upon varied topics, and energy transition to place stabilization, new approach, new technology, and EME elements and the geomechanics. So I think our audience will be very much benefited by this. Thank you very much. And now I invite our next speaker, Mr. Biswanath Ghosh, on the topic realizing hydrocarbon potential in Indian basins.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope during these COVID times, as we come out of this pandemic, everybody is staying safe and healthy. Can we have the slides, please? Some of my slides will have illustrations which you might want to zoom in on. So on the slideshow mode, on the right-hand top corner, you have an expand to full screen mode if you want to look at in a bigger screen. So I'm going to talk about realizing the hydrocarbon potential of India. Next one. And my talk will hover around three themes of hydrocarbon potential and key challenges. Some of them has been well presented by the previous speakers as well as the previous session as well. I'll quickly touch upon those, but go into the key challenges which remain in the exploration and realizing the resources and the reserves of India. I'll also talk about realizing the resources and taking them from resources to reserves in a faster and a better way, and what would enable them, and what sort of techniques, technology, and efforts can fasten that track, and some elements of enabling the risky business. Exploration, we win some but lose many. So keeping that in mind, how we enable that entire process of realization of all those resource potential in India. Next one, please. This has been said time and again, while the entire globe is moving towards equitable positions with the carbon footprint, and there is a transition which is happening in the energy sector, but the developing economies, including India, it's a bit different. Oil and natural gas remains in the energy mix, as been mentioned by Neeraj as well as Mr. Sandilya before. It will stay so for quite some time, with the demand always increasing in India, and the gap between the consumption and production of hydrocarbons for different activities is widening. And these are some of the graphics and the data which is coming out from the IHS forecasts as well. And finding the domestic resources and reserves still remain critical for the energy security. So exploration remains critical and key in finding those new resources and reserves to fill this gap. Next, please. Previous speakers have talked about this, but touching upon that, yet to find potential again in billion barrels of oil equivalent terms is greater than 200 billion barrels of oil equivalent terms. And we have seen that it is predominantly in the category 1 basins, the basins where we are already producing from and have known resources proven. But why is that then the other basins out of the 26 sedimentary basins are in India do not have bigger figures? It might be because of data or the efforts. Maybe the bias is more towards the data. Can we do something about it? Or maybe it's just our knowledge which is trapped in and we are so focused and myopic around this category 1 basin. Or is it more around the policy framework and the commerciality of those basins? Or is it the subsurface itself and the geology? Those are some of the challenges which remain to increase that yet to find beyond the category 1 basins going into category 2 and category 3, as was also mentioned by previous speakers. So that remains as a challenge. If we move to the next slide, please. We have been talking about the different play types we have, which has been discovered in the country, not only in the category 1 basins, but also in the emerging basins across the entire geography of India. We estimated more than 10 high impact plays, not all the plays, but if we consider some of the plays which is going to leapfrog certain resource growth in the country, there has been greater than 10 high impact plays which came up over the last 2 decades, including some of the ones in shale gas as well as CBM. But only about 60% of these plays get commercialized. Why is that? Maybe the resources are too small, or most of these play types are in tighter reservoirs and would require technology to recover. Or maybe the resources are there, but it's difficult to monetize for certain conditions, whether it's surface or fiscal or even other factors above the ground. So these are some of the challenges which remain, that emerging plays in India remain stranded. And that's also highlighted by some of the, if you count the discoveries made over the last decade versus the total fields produced, is almost 50%. So what we can do to fast track moving from those findings to getting into reserves and producing, and maybe finding more and producing more in a fast track mode, that remains a challenge for this country, realizing those potential, not only the remaining potential, but the potential which is also at hand. Next one, please. So what do we do in exploration, and what do the operating companies normally take as a strategy? So there are 2 key strategies which all the operating companies, both including the national oil companies and the private companies, take into account. One is focusing on the near field infrastructure-led exploration, go into the mature basins, find the play extensions of the known ones. And that's why you see that more and more yet to find potential are seen in the category 1 basin still. But the big needle movers in terms of generating new resources for the country, or even for that matter, the entire globe, comes from the low-cost frontiers or the new frontiers. So these graphs are a bit dated, but these trends still remain. These are from Richmond Energy's 2018 data, which showed an uptick of the near-field exploration done by different companies around the globe. But the big resources and reserves comes from the emerging basins of the frontier basin, as is shown on the graph on the right-hand side. But in these uncertain times, like the one we got hit with the pandemic or the oil glut as well, most companies tend to go towards the left-hand side. They restrict focus only to the mature basins, closer to the infrastructure, quicker returns. But 1 or 2 big leaps we do take, and then those sort of brave pill, as I call it, when you move into those new frontiers, gives you better returns. And the big resources still come from those low-cost frontiers. This balancing act is a challenge, not only for the operators, for a government, how they frame the different frameworks of policies, enable those ease of business to play this balancing act by the different oil and gas operators. Next slide, please. So what are those key goals and challenges then to realize that potential which you keep talking about? And India has that huge, vast quantity of yet to find. What are the key goals then we have? The key goals is to have improved prediction and accuracy. And the key challenges remains the access to the data, faster computing, and breaking the cycle time on interpretation, getting that a priori data in a standard quality format. The key goal remains in breaking the cycle time to get into first oil so that there is motivation on the investment and returns, and how we can recover more from whatever we find. So finding these new resources and the reserves in a safer and a sustainable way with a lower finding cost in a commercially viable manner remains a challenge. So now let us see what could we do, or what could be the key enablers to reach to these goals and overcome these challenges. Can you go to the next one, please? According to some of the discussions which we normally do in the industry, we see that there are key 4 levers around realizing these resources and reserves in a faster and a better manner through digital transformation. Data is the next oil. If data is the next oil, do we have it in the right format or in the right digital platform? And all the information and knowledge which we are all talking about of sharing and gathering, and the way we are doing it today, can we harness that technology and the information and the knowledge in a digital form like we are doing today is a one big step forward. So digital transformation is key. New technology and techniques, which some of the previous speakers were talking about, and I'll hit some of them as well in my subsequent slides, are very key in finding those new hydrocarbons and predicting them better. Maybe you have to think of other alternative workflows to get it faster, quicker, with higher predictability. And then reduce the cycle time. An early monetization approach, the policy has been already laid out by the government, also enables getting to the first oil and quicker returns, especially for private oil and gas operators to see that return coming early, would also motivate and enable finding more resources and bringing them onto the ground. And it goes without saying that dynamic fiscals and enabling policies to do the ease of doing business, and maybe enabling more hydrocarbon resources to be found with certain commercial levers will help us to realize those resources to reserves in a faster and a better way. If you go to the next slide, please. So I'll touch one of each of these elements one by one. First thing first, the digital transformation. It all hovers around the ecosystem of data, technology, policy, and how we harness knowledge and share information. As Neeraj was pointing out, we have to liberate the data. The data cannot be siloed. The data cannot sit in each and every operator's desks, but it should, and the National Data Repository is a great step ahead in liberating the data. We want to go a step forward. We want to make a national data lake. That's a vision we should approach. And Shri Amarnath was talking about transforming the National Data Repository into a company who could do that, liberate that data. With faster and easier access of the data over cloud platforms, we don't have to fill in application forms or raise an invoice to get the data out for 6 months and wait for 6 months. No, we should be able to get that data off the machine on a cloud platform on our fingertips. That's the vision we should have. And in the right format, like the ones we do, the global companies are doing, getting into an OSDU format. And incentivized policies to apply digital technologies, can that be a commitment for the companies? We often think about committing to a seismic program or cutting some course. Can we take some digital and new technology applications at commitment of our blocks which we operate? That would go a long way in bringing new technology and new data into place. Collaborating and crowdsourcing of ideas and a cognitive platform. So everything and anything we do with this open source data, or a data which is liberated, or a data which is in multi-client format, if it is liberated, we can expose it to the machines. If we can expose it to the machines, and if it is centrally done, both the industry and the academia can access it. We can crunch, we can compute, we can generate reports on a multi-client and a multi-user basis, which can be put either onto a common platform to share openly, or even to trade on a multi-client environment. That's the crowdsourcing and the collaborative cognitive knowledge share, which we should aim for. Let's go to the next slide, please. Some of these technologies and the techniques have already been talked about, but this remains the key. While as a country we have moved into national seismic programs, and as Mr. Sandilya rightly said, we should also have a national airborne gravity and magnetic program, which should leapfrog some of the early a priori knowledge of the subsurface in the continuous data sets. And we have seen that airborne FDG techniques provide very good data sets and reveals the basin in a faster, in a manner which is very safe and a very quicker way. Similar technologies like satellite EM technology has been also adopted in many countries, and also we are using in India as well, which generates a lot of subsurface information and sweet spots based on the satellite-derived signals which has been received. And previous presenters were also talking about adapting cable-less seismic surveys in difficult terrains in the northeast frontiers. That would also leapfrog our data acquisition and imaging the subsurface. So embracing this new technology, please allow this to be commitment to the work program, and allow this to be swapped to the committed work programs. Only then we can enforce these things coming in very quickly. Only then we can see these sort of techniques also coming in the service industry to be enabled. Rather, India will be lagging, not leading in such industry, in such techniques. This would be a suggestion to follow. Let's move to the next one, please. Being a geophysicist, I have to do justice to the geophysicist fraternity, and I have to show some seismic technologies, or else I'll not do justice to the geoscientist forums here. But I think it has been said by the past presenters about the broadband technique and how it reveals it. Here is an example for that. In fact, can I get the screen back? Can I get the presentation back, please?
Yes, Mr. Prasanjit, please get this presentation back.
Thank you. So in fact, in these sort of broadband processing technique, thank you. So we have seen that the imaging significantly increases, and some of the structures or the subsurface leads which were not seen before, they evolve with these broadband techniques. This should become the norm. This should become the norm. Maybe along with the National Seismic Program, we should also take up National Reprocessing Program. And this is based on the legacy data, two sets, one which is a streamer data and OBC data merged together and reprocessed within 6 months to give this sort of data. This should go into the national data lake as well for people to use. Next slide, please. Another example, this is from the Western onshore region, where the vintage data, we could hardly see anything, but new techniques like tomographic statics and high-resolution velocity modeling and tomographic approaches and noise attenuations start to show us new leads in the old areas with new ideas and new concepts and new techniques. Next one, please. New age processing also brings out very good imaging. This is from the Northeast. The one to the left is a reprocessed data where we see more coherent images of the subsurface as compared to the legacy. And this has been done through different techniques like CRAM, different techniques like high resolution velocity analysis, and again, tomographic statics. And we can find out those missed opportunities even in the category 1 basins. So maybe a national reprocessing program in getting an enhanced data set into its standard form into the national data lake would be a vision to achieve as a quick win for us. Next one, please. One thing I would also like to highlight is integrated petroleum systems model for all the basin. And DGH has been doing that for basin by basin when they do their resource assessment study, but make it open. Make it open and available to all the operators, not only the operators, but also to the academia. And we can enhance this by more better techniques. In the national data lake, we should bring in not only the well and the seismic data and the reports, but the rock and the fluid data. And I would like to highlight those rock and fluid data also gives us a key all about the migration models and the petroleum system models. I'd also like to highlight the use of fluid inclusion studies. While we rely on some well shows during drilling, but looking into these paleo fluids within the minerals itself under the microscope gives a huge amount of information, and you can quickly upgrade your migration model, which works wonders, and you can see that maybe it was not migrating that way, but the other way, and there might be another pool sitting just north of you. So identifying sweet spots becomes easier. Digitize the entire core. I know the cores are sitting in different places in different core stores of different operating companies. Can we take high resolution photographs and upload it in the national data lake? Integrate those in an integrated petroleum system model and put it up live on a multi-client basis. This is going to help us for the future, finding new resources. Next one, please. And once we have those basin models, taking a play-based approach and technique, enhancing the workflows not only for the conventionals, but also for the unconventionals, can untap the over 500 billion barrels of in-place resources which people try to estimate in all the basins in the shales, not only in the sands or the reservoirs. And it has been well proven that when you look into a chance materiality map, going from a basin scale to a piloting scale for the unconventional, a lot of things gets clear. We have to take this integrated approach, and this should be shared at a national level. If it stays at one place, we cannot integrate all the elements of it, anti-risk, and predict better. So if you remember that the prediction is a key challenge, getting it faster and better in a highly predictable manner, we have to collaborate. And obviously for unconventional, we need a separate fiscal regime. It cannot be in the same paradigm. If we have to untap it, it has to be in a separate fiscal regime, which should be commercially effective, even to at least start piloting it. Next one, please. Early monetization is something which has been the buzzword on the recent times because of the policy which now allows it, both in the PSC and the RSC domains. But I think it has been proven globally as well that it can be done. And a lot of activities has to be done in parallel rather than thinking about it sequentially. So while we are exploring, we are thinking of appraisal. While we are appraising, we are already preparing mini FDPs. While we are preparing those mini FDPs, we're trying to produce from the wells which we drill and retain them as keepers. Zohr model from Egypt by ENI was a classic example when they showcased that even for a gas in deep water, they can fast track, and they did it in 2 years' time from the discovery and reduced the first hydrocarbon from their fields by 50%. They were parallelly crunching data in their high-end computing systems and generating models while they were exploring, they were appraising as well. While they were appraising, they were creating development plans. So in a manufacturing term, it's often referred to as a design to a cost model. Can we take it a bit forward and say, now that we have all this knowledge base from that national data lake, now that we have all these models from these, by exposing those data to the machines through AI and ML, can we explore and develop at the same time? That's the vision we should be looking at. So fine tweaking some of the SOPs or the early monetization policies, which has been already laid out by the government of India, and enabling those into our execution, we can further fast track the first oil in a quicker turnaround time. So every exploration we drill, maybe take a bit of more calculated risk with the knowledge at the backdrop, say that I'll keep it as a keeper and run my production liner along with it as well, rather than just wait for a plug and abandon and come and drill another well later. Fast track those. And through these methods, we can achieve it. And the policy and the enabling factors are all coming through to help us there. Next slide, please.
I request you to expedite, please.
Yeah, this would be my last slide. I will be finishing. Okay. So, so as I said, exploration is a risky business. We win some but lose many, and that remains the norm. But obviously, we'll try to predict much better and in a better way. But that would be only possible through data liberation and digital collaboration, which I just talked about, and getting all of these information on a cognitive platform. But a key thing would be looking into the risk-reward dynamics and the fiscal attractiveness. Furtado, in his paper last year, showcased that quick tweaking and on the risk element of it, because most of our fiscals are either a PSC or a revenue share, looks into what would you share going forward if you're successful. But what about all the risk we take when we fail? Can there be some risk uplift into the fiscal? So he showed that in Brazil, when the government made some fine tweaks around the risk share, the entire pre-salt play opened up. And the entire frontier of the EMVs and high profitability moved in favor of putting in more investments. Maybe when we are thinking about it, I know there's a separate session on it, maybe how we look into this risk dynamics and the risk elements are key. Adapting new technologies remains there. And we as exploration managers go on spending more time on permitting and clearances rather than executing and prospecting. We have to reverse that, which some of the existing speakers talked about. And fiscal levers to generate reserves from the small and difficult finds needs to be paid attention to. So if I go to the next slide, I leave you with the quote, which is very pertinent. Next slide, please. Park Dickey's famous quote, which was mentioned by him in 1958, still remains today. So let the new ideas keep on coming, else we'll not find oil in old place without a new idea, and seldom will we find oil in old place if we stick to our old ideas. Thank you very much. Thanks for giving me this opportunity and this platform to bring forward these ideas. Thank you very much, and would be happy to take any questions at the end. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ghosh. I think you are focused on the twofold strategy, key goals and challenges. And this data is the next oil. This is a very pertinent thing now, and we all have to focus. And the reduction in that data cycle and early monetization. I think this will be going a long way in meeting our energy needs. Thank you very much. Next, I invite Mr. Dr. Manas Kumar Sharma for his presentation on exploration in mature basins, opportunities and challenges. A question answers we will take at the end because due to paucity of time, I think we will in the end we will deal with it.
Okay. Very good afternoon to all. Co-chair, my fellow panelists and the board, and my esteemed dignitaries and attendees from various institutions. A very good afternoon to you all. As we appreciate that there are advantages and disadvantages of being the last speaker. And the advantage is that already the foundation has been laid for my topic. And I don't need to further emphasize on the fact that mature basin plays a vital role in enhancing or reducing the import dependency of the country. And also to the fact that there are lots of opportunities and left behind in this area where you are dealing with a new and known regime of discovered hydrocarbon regime. May I request Prasenji to upload the presentation, please? My topic that has been given to me is exploration in mature basin, opportunities and challenges. These presentations quickly deal with the fact that it will touch upon the global scenario and how we see mature basin in the worldwide context, and it will then follow the Indian context, and then subsequently, for ease of my explanation, I would like to tread on one of the oldest basin of the country, Assam self. Yeah, please display the PPT. So next slide. See, as we look at this photograph or cartoon on the left side, it says that it's a very common and similar phenomena that happens in any hydrocarbon basin that goes from its life cycle from discovery till various phases of development, and so is the case with any mature basin. So in this case, as we see that initially during the initial part of the exploration, the basin contributes a significant from the new fields, and then the new finds continuously get reduced, and finally the challenge is there to how to find the area which is not been looked into. But it is evident from the fact that the role of a mature basin will continue because of the fact that we are into an area where hydrocarbon potential has already been established. Next slide, please. As we look at this hydrocarbon scenario and the estimation, this particular information has been already shared in many panelists earlier.
I think there's some net issue, I think. Internet issue. Hello.
I think he is having some network issues.
Yeah. इनका net issue दिखता है शर्मा का. Okay, please. Yeah, I think they are refreshing it, and in the meantime, we'll resolve it. Please look faster. Yeah, now.
Actually, slide has come, but Mr. Sharma's audio probably.
Hello. मेरा वाला page.
Already 80% of the undiscovered resources left.
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So next, please. So as you look at this table of showing the category 1 basins, we have seen that first 7 basins, now Bengal also included into this, has seen different percentage of discovery, and from the ranging from 70 to 30%. And then also we have a significant yet to find resources left to this. So that our endeavor of finding more oil in this mature basin still persists. Next, please. So since the easy oil has already been identified and significant structures has been already been explored, so we are left with challenges like identifying the subtle structures and also the area where because of complexity or inaccessibilities we could not trade into. So like that, if we list the challenges in with us, the challenges of characterizing the reservoir or delineating the deposits or reservoir faces becomes a big challenge. It also deals with when you talk about thick sediment thickness, that dealing about ultra deep wells, like one of my previous speaker has already emphasized, is you need to deal with lots of drilling complications, and that preparedness for this fit for purpose technology as well as suitable methodology to drill these wells also require lots of new approaches and thinking. There are just a minute. So, and as we deal with all these things and fluctuating, as we deal with all these things, bringing in new technology as well as and also bringing in fit for purpose technology in this place involves lots of capex involvement, hike in exploration capex, and fluctuating crude oil price, which has been fluctuating for always in our lifetime, is playing a vital role in making the technology feasibility more feasible. Next, please. But we are still left with lots of opportunities. As we deal with mature basin, we are left with lots of opportunities. One example of that Kute basin, which has seen lots of exploration in the past, has seen exploration of 850 exploratory wells, has started giving us new discoveries in the recent past. So it justifies that there are still unexplored areas or less explored potential areas left, and which is either because of we are having a poor imaging so far, or the complex geology to deal with, or to ultra deep depth to tackle with. In this case, to have a holistic approach, we need to understand the perspective of that particular place or areas that we need to attain in mature basins plays a vital role. Integrated basin modeling, existing data, and added with new technology, acquired data, and all this gives us a better idea about integrated basin modeling of the area. These are some of the points which will be automatically taken care of when we deal with a sound integrated basin modeling for an area. Technologies are there in the country. Technologies are there. Service providers are developing lots of technologies. Now the call of the day is how to choose the fit for purpose technology for particular area that we are going to explore. That will be applicable for data acquisition and interpretation. It will be also applicable for drilling technology. It will be also suitably required for production technology as we maximize the recovery for the mature basin. So, in the days to come, as the techno-economic plays a vital role in this context, even designing a well plays a very significant role in taking care of this economic feasibility. And while doing that, understanding the stress regime of the earth in this particular basin plays a vital role. So, geomechanical study is a necessity in this case. Next, please. These are some of the technologies that has been available for us. Now it is us how we choose and utilize this technology for our understanding for a specific purpose or specific mature basin to explore above. We need to tackle with high resolution 3D to understand and see the subtle structures that could not be seen earlier with our conventional approaches. We also need to see the reservoir delineation of the available identified and potential plays by utilizing technologies such as extended elastic impedance or similar type. But then the summary lies in the fact that there will be twofold approaches while we attend continuous exploration in the mature basin. One is we revisit the available data. We revisit by through reprocessing, we revisit by applying reservoir geophysics studies into the thing, and also acquire new data where these gaps are to be bridged. In this case, to bring in more resolution, we have to attend to high resolution 3D. There are, even as we deal with established reservoirs to maximize recovery in the mature basins, time-lapse 3D would be a kind of a recipe for this type of things. Multi-component seismic can be another solution for some areas. So these are some of the things that we need to tackle as a kind of comprehensive approach or
Hello?
Yes,
Prasenjit,
please.
it's still showing me this.
Is it not? I'm not audible.
No, yeah, you're
Yes,
audible
sir,
now.
you're
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Next, please. Prasenjit, can you please arrange to change the slide? Okay.
Yeah.
For ease of explaining operation in a mature basin, I would like to take resort to Assam Shale Basin, which is the oldest basin undergoing exploration till date. And if we see the brighter side of it, we are having lots of undiscovered resources still available in these basins. So as we see, by virtue of the extensive exploration in the basin, these plays like in Miocene, Oligocene, and Paleocene plays has been established. And out of this, around still, if we see the ratio, out of this 5,200 prognosticated resources in this place, we are identified only 1,000 odd discover resources in this place into discovery. So there are lots of opportunities even with the established place. The areas which are not here to explore, the area which could not be reached because of the complexity and restrictions, will be a clue to establish and convert more resources into reserves in this case. In this case, like attending the high displacement for the far off places with a high displacement or ERD wells, identifying subtle stratigraphic tracks through 3D seismic, or in case of non-invasive geophysical tools plays a vital role. There are areas in this part of the Upper Assam Basin, which is because of the thick vegetation or because of riverine environment not yet explored. But as we understand and confident in the GME cycle of this basin, that hydrocarbon is still there. Only thing is that we have to find out the container where it is preserved. So with this new technology pushing, like again, PST is another technology, passive seismic tomography, which has been experimentally utilized in one of the area in Upper Assam Basin within oil India's operational area. Airborne gravity gadrometry is extensively carried out, and we are happy to inform you that around 21,000 square kilometer of area has been already data acquiring has been completed very recently, and the idea is to again go for integrated basin modeling with the available seismic data within the explored area with the newly data acquired data to understand the basin. Next, please. And after doing all this, we are still having lots of potential plays here to identify. There are small successes, but significant plays are there. As you see the small map on your right, all these structures, all these potential reservoirs has been identified in this place, but there are still white areas yet to be explored. Those are mainly riverine area, and with the encouragement from the ministry and with a new regime of OLP, lots of aggressive participation from companies has been taken up, and Oil India has also participated aggressively in this part of the basin. Assam Arakan Basin, which doesn't have the acreage earlier, has got around 12,000 square kilometer area to explore now. And so the fit for technology, fit for purpose technology, and aiming at relatively unconventional or subtle structures will be the key to success for converting these potential plays into reserves. Okay, next please.
Please expedite, please. Yeah.
So, yeah, sure. This I am coming to the end. This slides only list out the areas that we have been attended in terms of established play or in terms of potential play in case of exploration in mature basin and our learning. So and then going to the next please. So as we summarize the whole thing, sir, this more emphasis on mature basin exploration is key for maximizing the potential at the earliest. There are areas to be reached, but it can be attended. And the focused approach with a meaningful data acquisition, fit for purpose technology will be the clue. But as one of my previous speakers has spoken about, that availability of think tank and availability of knowledge that has been scattered across the country, if we take advantage of those things in a common platform, will bring in lots of changes into play. Our experience in the different part of the country, if we can showcase platform in one area, we can explore in this area, it can be successfully utilized for understanding fit for purpose technology as well as exploring the geological complexity of this area. And this reminds me of the quote given by the Park A. Dickey long back, which still fits fit for purpose. And I am happy to inform you that my previous speaker also strongly believes in that. It says like it that we usually find oil in new place with old ideas, Sometimes we find oil in old place with new ideas, but we seldom find much oil in old place with old ideas. Several times in the past, we have thought that we are running out of oil, when actually we're running out of ideas. So with new ideas, new technology, new thinking, we will definitely reduce the import dependency in the country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sharma. I think you have touched upon very sensitive topics, mature basins and more oil, and using of latest and fit to art technology also. And I think how to explore for the subtle traps and delineate the existing traps is a new thing. We can add more oil. So thank you very much for the your lecture, and I think we all will be very much benefited. And with this, we come to an end to the session to spotlight to exploration opportunities and challenges. And now, if any question answers are there, I think then we can take up. So, hello, yes, Prasanjit, please come up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So the first question is from Mr. Udvarsh Dasgupta. He asks, in the season of COVID, low oil price, how much exploration is justified?
Question answer is directed to whom, Mr.?
Directed to no one. He's just asked an open question, not directed.
So among our esteemed speakers, anybody can take up.
I think Mr. Reddy is answering,
Hello.
but he is muted.
Yeah.
Dr. Reddy, your mic doesn't seem to be working. It's
Mr. Reddy, you are not audible. I think you are muted. We can move on to next one.
Yep.
Hello.
Yeah, so the next question is, what are the current thoughts on exploration potential for Kerala Konkan Basin? It has a very large area for deeper play exploration. Have we done justice with this basin?
This again is addressed to whom?
So they're not addressed to anyone. It's just open questions.
Okay, so Sandilya, can you take on?
Right, sir. Thank you. Sir, I think, yes, Kerala Konkan, did we do the justice? Partly.
No.
Partly, no. The sedimentary, the volcanic cover is so thick, and the Cretaceous sub-Mesozoic, the sub-Trapean Mesozoic basin is not fully explored. So the big problem with the Kerala Konkan is, how do we image below the trap in a proper way? So as and as the new technologies will come, and when we can image below the traps, I think we should be able to get new basins. So I'm very optimistic about that.
All right, I think we can just take one more question. It's the topic is a general question for geoscientists. Are we doing justice in allocating the basins in particular category as category 1, 2, 3, as this indirectly will have connotation on its potential without expending much exploratory inputs?
This can be taken about Dr. Laxma Reddy.
Dr. Reddy's mic seems to be acting up because we're not.
Anyone? Sandilya, again you can answer.
Or
okay, we'll skip that.
Yeah, I think we'll. So we can wrap it up.
Yeah. But Mr. Neeraj Sharma, anybody can take up.
I'm Indrajit. I think this question and the first question are more or less the same, in the sense that since exploration is very cost intensive, categorizing the basins should be a good I think move in this sense that as per the category, some incentives are available from the government. this actually encourages the the operators to go ahead with exploration in a big way. Otherwise, those category of basins will always be neglected. That is my feeling actually.
Mr. Barua, but this categorization is not on the basis of in real sense, in the prospectivity of those. They are not number 3, category 3 is not number 3 in terms of prospectivity. It's only
Yes.
in terms of that the production has not yet started.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay.
Exactly, sir. I wanted to tell the same.
But then,
Yeah,
Abhi sunai de rahe, sir?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Give me 2 minutes. Okay. So first of all, let me thank all the speakers for their very nice and pertinent talk related to exploration. And I am sure they must have kept everybody awake after the lunch in post-lunch session. And I am also thankful to organizer for very apt and pertinent contemporary subject wherein our exploration for fossil fuel is also being challenged and impacted through other quarters also. And obviously this transition in long range is going to take some effect onto that. However, everybody, all the energy pundits, every analysis in terms of the India's energy requirement has consistently been speaking about the role oil and gas is still going to play for nearly at least 20 to 30 years in Indian scenario. Now the question comes in, government on that side, Mr. Dhasmana is starting with other speakers also in the initial session, right from the DG, from Joint Secretary MOPNG as well as Secretary MOPNG, the kind of facilitation, the kind of positive outlook, the kind of approaches that are being taken up at government level in creating, in making this ease of doing business, as well as bringing in policy changes which are positive looking forward and creating an environment for expanding and making the exploration aggressive. That is one front. So government is ready to walk an extra mile. That is why it has also created a committee in looking forward and has asked suggestion to be nominated from industry to give those suggestions and recommendation wherein the policy changes operators demand. Apart in reference to that, our role then comes in to walk that talk. And we also have to walk an extra mile. That is one aspect. The biggest heartening thing for me for participation and listening to the speaker was across the industry spectrum, a convergence on the key imperatives, convergence on the policy and the challenges that everybody has expressed unequivocally. So my take on that is when there are challenges, these are opportunities also. So we have to translate those opportunities. I again say Mr. Neeraj Sinha has expressed very valid point. Mr. Biswanath goes on to certain points. There I would expect as a director exploration of NOC as well as a party to take the exploration to the next level. When we talk of the data paucity, when we talk about creating a system wherein data is available and open to everybody, do we also are willing to move on to creating a multi-client support to the government in acquiring that data? A lot of demand is now emerging in terms of drilling the parametric wells. A lot of national seismic program was carried out by only 2 national companies. So therein the role of the private in expanding the horizon for the government is also warranted. And I take up the issue. Yes, I was part of the technical workshop which Mr. Sinha expressed. And I am also an equally ardent believer that the collaboration is going to be the key in the future. And in that aspect, when Mr. Neeraj Sinha showed that slide for Western Offshore, opening up of Madagascar and relation in terms of bringing in some prospectivity into certain quarters. So now the question comes in starting from constructing the plate tectonic models specifically if we have to crack the Mesozoic across those producing basins, even in Western Offshore or be in East Coast. And the need is now to understand those concepts in a different light. Can we move on convergence in creating a webinar facilitated through DGH, wherein we now start from the plate tectonic reconstruction itself, and then comes in understanding other elements of its paleogeography, its sediment dispersal patterns, its hiatuses, and the number of those missing periods, and the effect on the total petroleum system occurrence and evolution as a whole. So therein, a lot of understanding and convergence we have seen, we are on the same page. So I think this is going to translate into something really good in the coming years. And we believe that the exploration is going to be revived. The recent policy changes are definitely going to give a shot in the arm, and category 2 and 3 basins, which I think Mr. Ghosh has referred about, wherein the low cost new areas, frontier areas. But the issue is to bring that cost down under the current circumstances. So with this, I thank everybody, and I thank specifically the organizer for making me part of this. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. So we will end this session, and we'll ask the audience to move into the next session, which is production challenges, conventional and unconventional hydrocarbons. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.